right? You know, of course people are coming in here and they're saying, ah, you know, it's Gen G, you're gonna get smacked, it's gonna be a sweep, but I feel like KT fans just need something to hang their hats on, right? You get a little bit of momentum in this first game, and I feel like people want to believe in that story. They want to believe in the underdog. It's such a fun thing to cheer for. This team that is constantly overlooked, that never seems to be able to get it quite right. When it finally does start to work out, it's just a beautiful story. You know, you want to see guys like BDD be able to prove their worth, you know, to take down someone who you were replaced by, who everyone is overlooking you for, I think is just awesome to think about.
It really is, and what a place to prove it. That against Chovy's Taliyah, 25-4 on this all-time. It's a pretty one-sided scoreline for Chovy, as are many things for Gen G this year. They've only lost 2 best-of-5s across the entirety of 2025. One was to KT, and one was to Hanwha Life Esports all the way back in the qualification in the LCK Cup.
And it's been close calls many a time. We've seen them go against a 5th game against many a team domestically, against or in MSI as well. But outside of those two, they have been victorious. And then for Gen G, I think, again, it is the weight of the expectations. I feel we have seen Chovy truly be consumed by that all-encompassing need for finally breaking through the barrier, which he's never got further than semis.
And I mean, it is a really brutal metric by which we are judging Gen G and by which we are judging Chovy, but it is because he's been looked at, you know, maybe not at every given moment, but many moments for many years now as the best mid laner in the world. And now they're looking mid.
Also looking to gank that best mid laner in the world. Chovy flashes immediately into the flag and drag. Knocked back with the seismic shove. But his rocks become his tombstone. KT on the board for first blood.
And when you want to talk about pressure, flashing in line with the flag and drag there, I think he was maybe trying to flash over it or anticipating, you know, an EQ flash or something like that. But Cuz doesn't even have to flash, BDD doesn't even have to flash, and they got first blood, and it goes to the Yone.
And that is in a matchup where Yone is expected to struggle early on. And it's Cuz that finds the early angle, circumvents all vision, doesn't get spotted by Canyon, and sets up his mid laner for success immediately. Because once you hit 6, this matchup becomes infinitely easier.
And I like to joke about this, but I'm kind of not really joking. Yone's hit full build. You get that early Vamp Scepter, and it can just be so difficult now to actually have Prio to be able to poke you down, because you can hit this critical threshold where both Taliyah has a bad buy in just the tier, so you're not really getting a lot more damage, and you have so much sustain that now all of a sudden you can't really even get Prio in that lane. And that really was the only lane that we were expecting Gen G to have that early Prio in. So BDD gonna be in his comfort zone now here, and Chovy's gonna have to play super defensive with no flash for the next 5 minutes.
Cuz gonna be in his comfort zone as well. The ability to invade into Canyon's jungle, who has been a little bit quieter in the early game than Canyon of yesteryear. I think the player that's most struggled on Gen G across summer has been Canyon, so we'll see if Cuz can punish him appropriately.
And by a large margin, Canyon not just not being able to find the biggest early game impact, which has been kind of a constant through his career, but also just not having that much impact in general, which is not something that you've been able to say for him for a large part of it, as we do have Cuz will get spotted here, but it is very telling that, again, it's Cuz visiting BDD. These players on many a team have been together. Obviously, we're also on the 2023 KT roster, which was stopped by JDG back in that quarterfinal.
And I would just find it so interesting. Like, it is very first world problem, but Gen G is so stacked and there's so many stars on this team that sometimes it can be a bit difficult to figure out what is your role within this team, right? You know, when you take players who are like the focus on a different roster and you put them all together and you build with more and more and more stars, not everyone can be the star. Not everyone can take that kind of central role. So I do think sometimes players have to reinvent themselves a bit and kind of figure out, okay, well, what playstyle works best for me and enables my team to have the most success?
And this is about as bad as it gets for Gen G, because the only one that's ahead is Keen. And that's nice, but he's not, both in terms of champion or in terms of player, the one that needs to be ahead. We're seeing Ruler really struggle in this 2v2, as we were expecting, but because of the lack of jungle intervention from Canyon, they've been able to find a lot there. And then Chovy, obviously, thanks to the gank, has also fallen behind. Now, Gen G's objective setups have generally been great, but even that, KT got ahead of them and was able to pick up that first dragon. So we'll see if Gen.G is able to contest for these grubs in about a minute and a half.
Both teams going for the lane swap, having their bot lanes go up towards that top side because of those grubs that we talk about. You'll see the top laners just matching bot. They can TP up if they're so required. Did see Cuz hanging around mid a little bit, but wasn't really an easy gank path on Chovy, so he's just going to clear his top side, and Canyon mirrored down towards that bottom side is clearing up towards the grubs. Peter looking for some damage on Jhoeraine, but can always just dash away to the Corki.
Yeah, not going to be too much of a big deal, but they're just trying to keep the push going. And though we do see Ruler a little bit behind, at least the Caitlyn has not been farming a lot of plates or anything like that. They've done a good job of actually keeping the farm close enough and keeping them off the tower. It hasn't just been this total disaster where sometimes these Caitlyn lanes really can get out of control, especially when you are going against a weak early laning support like the Rakan. But Duro and Ruler are doing a great job of just kind of minimizing the damage as much as they possibly can, and that's really your job.
We'll have to see whether any contest can come through or whether KT can keep this early lane supremacy going and make sure that they are able to also turn it into grubs, as we do see Dokdam just try and get as much chip damage down as objective is about to spawn. And it should be looking good for KT to contest that. We do see Duro TPing back, but Ruler, chunked out as he is. I have a lot of faith in his man's Corki, but
It would be
without
very
your health
greedy.
bar, that is only a tier. Longsword and some bits. I don't know if that's going to be enough.
It would be very greedy to go for that. Duro not yet level 6,
Say
so doesn't
that.
have the quickness. They're going to step around the corner here, poke their noses in, see if Cuz is doing anything a little bit illegal. But for the moment, Cuz should be able to get one of these grubs. KT pushed in the top side. Ruler's going to answer that. Canyon looking for the flank from the bottom side. Bolt breaker onto BDD, lands the knock-up. Face sealed out from BDD across the wall, using that ultimate just for a little bit of extra distance between him and Gen.G. Chovy coming in. BDD will dash out of the back of the pit, and KT will escape with only one of the grubs. Great smite from Canyon to secure the one that was contested, and Gen.G will get their second.
Honestly, really well played by Canyon to navigate that situation. You know, BDD had prow through mid, but Canyon just kind of set up shop, waited for him, forced out that ult, and got a chunk onto BDD very early. And from that spot, you no longer really want to fight, right? Yeah. So it just became this one grubbing out, even with those winning lanes, and what looked like a better spot for KT to at least be able to get to.
I do like seeing that Keen also TP to mid, because with the Cyanode he would have been able to join the fight soon anyway, but because there wasn't a continued contest from KT, was able to get towards bot lane earlier. Perfect still was able to equalize the gold lead just a little bit, able to get some time alone in that lane.
If you're a top laner, you love Peter right now. Hangs around, waits for the double recall, then drags the wave so it slow pushes in towards Perfect. He's like, okay, I'll very happily just accept this closer to my tower. Means that I'm at very minimal risk of a jungle gank.
It is hard to find someone that doesn't love Peter. I
That
gotta
is true.
say though, this man has been farming fans throughout the year, both with his interviews and his really stellar performance, particularly again on the Nico. Has had his fair ups and downs, but he is a KT player, so that kind of comes with the territory.
Sure, but just to highlight how good it was, that was a whole wave, a cannon wave, lost for Keen, and Perfect was able to get there, pick up the cannon, pick up a couple of the melee minions, so it's a big gold swing for Perfect. Obviously doesn't matter too much in the grand scheme of things, but those are the small things that can add up.
No, they absolutely can. I mean, unfortunately for Keen, he already had a significant advantage. You know, he has been doing really well in the 1v1, and honestly, to me, Keen is just point-blank period, best top laner in the world.
Agreed.
This guy almost seems to just not make mistakes. It's kind of ridiculous, and he can play every style.
GDD's going to snap back here. Takes a couple of fists to his face, but is able to rebind his soul and escape with the wave pushing it.
I think Canyon, unless BDD really overextends, mainly just looking to get Chovy a nice base here. The Dragon is about to come up in 25 seconds. We'll see. Gen.G for sure going to be looking to fight for this one. They now have the Rakan ultimate available as well. And TPs are coming in. Both mid laners going to try and fight for pride on the wave here. Keen doesn't FTP, but he is Scion, so with his ultimate, is able to join at reasonable pace.
I mean, this is one of the things that when I watch Gen.G a lot in the LCK had always really impressed me, is that, you know, even if they do build these slight deficits, they play out.
BDD, fate sealed across the wall, and once again his ultimate used before that objective fight. Now he's going to have to try and path through 3 members of Gen.G to get down into this river.
It's just a beautiful bit of pressure, and now again, you have this position that was supposed to be this winning position. Now BDD without ult, do you really want to take the fight? I think it becomes so much more risky. But KTT, they are trying to set up in the area, trying to get some traps down. Gen.G looks like they're going to be able to retake this space, though.
Cuz is sitting on a spike, does have the Sunrise Sky available. That is a big advantage thanks to that early assist, plus the fact that he is up a couple of camps. And we do see BDD is still around, even without the ultimate. If the rest of the team sets up for him, should still be able to do a decent amount of damage.
And look at Bot. So right now it's still Duckdom down there just pushing in this wave. So he's drawn Ruler down, but Ruler is now very separated from the rest of the team. So Duckdom does have the inside track to get back to the rest of his squad that's in this area. And BDD now coming again back from mid lane. So they have pretty decent positioning to try to take over this area.
Gen.G using that time to deny a little bit of vision control ward in the pit from KT as they do start up their second dragon. Ruler at the back of the pit. Can Valkyrie in if the fight starts sharpish. Meanwhile, the unstoppable onslaught coming out from Keen as he charges down here. The Drake falling lower though, down to 2k. BDD jumping in just to distract. A quickness from Jhoeraine, a smite from Cuz. KT secure the Drake and a great disengage as well as Gen.G are the ones retreating, unable to find purchase in the fight.
And KT says thank you very much for watching as we take the objective. Perfect does have to invest his TP, but that's an investment you're happily going to take with Mountain on the board, and the fact that Gen.G is playing a 2-carry composition, as they so often do. This early game is off to a great start here for KT.
It's a fantastic start for KT, and I just really like how they navigated that, because I think a lot of teams, once they lost ult on BDD, would have just said, all right, that's their dragon, we just have to give that. But they navigated it out so incredibly well, playing with Prio through that bot lane. Duckdom non-stop pushing just meant Ruler was so sectioned off from the rest of the team that by the time he actually got there, the dragon was basically already gone, and it just became a bit of a flip, and KT do get that, and they're comfortable to continue just playing at this pace.
And for Gen.G, one of the things that they have found many advantage on has been that snap engage. Duro in particular has been exceptional at this as they're...
And there it goes, straight onto Duckdom. Cease and desist living as the Caitlyn falls to Canyon. Gen.G on the board in the semi-finals.
There you go, that's the engage right there as Duro and Canyon press their R buttons and Duckdom goes down.
Yeah, Duckdom, nothing much to do about that one. Just kind of gets caught pushing a little bit too far up, and he is on weak side of the map. Everyone else from KT is on that top side, so had to be a little bit more careful. Does get punished, but it is just the one kill, so not the end of the world.
Sometimes you see these plays around the 13-minute, 13:30 mark because people want the plates, so they'll step up a little bit more greedily than they usually would, thinking, oh, there's a bit of 200 extra gold for me,
put it
in my pockets. But because of that, Gen.G collapsed well, and as you say, there really wasn't any support for Duckdom on that side of the map.
And one item spikes to come through here. We have the Liandry's for Perfect, we have Blade of the Rune King for BDD, and we have the Collector for Duckdom. All three of those are insane one-item spikes. And we'll see. I think Herald is definitely going to be a setup, and we're already seeing Gen.G set up for that as Duro moving into the enemy jungle to try and get as much vision as possible.
Yeah, Ruler obviously going to be behind on his first item completion, given that he's going for Triforce that has tier, etc. But I've got to say, that's a 200 gold lead. That's it for your Caitlyn Neeko against a Corki Rakan. Like, you really would have wanted to build that into a lot more. So credit to Gen.G, great at kind of just minimizing the advantages that they're giving over to Duckdom here. And Gen.G, as I was touching on earlier, even when they would sometimes fall behind in the LCK, they're just so masterful at how they approach the team fights and how they actually set up these objectives that getting a lead is very far away from guaranteeing a win against Gen.G.
Yeah, they really are one of the most resilient teams that we have when it comes to both their cross maps, but as well the consistency of their setups for team fights, one of which I think we might be having on our hands soon.
Yeah, you see a couple of wards behind that Herald pit from Duro. Chovy and Canyon moving towards that top side, perhaps seeing if Perfect overstepped. Cuz comes across, spotted. Canyon and Chovy have a decision to make. Who are we going to put the damage down onto? There's the Bolt Breaker as Canyon slams his fists into Cuz. Cuz chipped away at it a little. Duro's going to start up the Herald here with Gleaming Quill. BDD's working his way up from the bot side, but might just be focused on the Scuttle Crab. Peter looking to see if there's anything he can do here, but it doesn't really feel like KT want to contest right now. The cease and desist from Gen.G, they want the fight on their terms, and they kill off the Neeko immediately. Nothing that KT can do to collapse.
I mean, Peter was just way too far ahead of the rest of the team, right? No one's even around him when they do engage on him, and the Neeko is just a freebie, an add-on to that Herald, which may mean that Gen.G gets first tower, and that's going to get them very close to feats.
See, Keen, just as an insurance policy, does TP his way over. In hindsight, not necessary, but given the timing, makes sense that he would go for that the moment that the fight actually starts. And we're slowly starting to see the gold lead dwindle. There will be a TP advantage now, though, here for KT. We'll see if they can leverage that when the dragon comes up, because Gen.G are still in a position where I think they need to fight for at least the next 2 dragons to kind of equalize that, because if KT gets off to soul point, the game becomes so much harder to play out, and they have an really, frankly, insane amount of Baron damage as well. So I feel like that makes it even more important that they are able to find that objective fight.
Absolutely agree, and I do like the lane assignments here for KT right now. You put BDD into that side lane. Sion has to go MR early against the Rumble, so now you have this Hollow Radiance, and you're laning against the Blade of the Rune King Yone, which is obviously not going to be something you're going to be able to do much damage towards. Of course, Keen's job is to just protect the tower, not to win the 1v1, but that can become difficult over time as you can kind of slowly get whittled down. Gen.G, though, a lot of members here around mid, and I'm just expecting them to drop this Herald soon and try to play for this dragon.
Putting the Herald down mid would give them that prio in the mid lane. Last fight around the Drake, we didn't really see a battle occur at all. KT were able to secure the dragon and force Gen.G away, but they do have the tools, KT do, to really have these big AoE fights. A Pot Blossom, a Cataclysm, an Equalizer, Fate Sealed on top of it. If they can layer that CC, Gen.G are just going to pop.
As a little bit of damage on Cuz, I want to highlight as well the fact the ability for KT to find these angles as BDD.
Weavers will Fate Sealed again from BDD before the neutral. Gen.G collapsed onto him. Did have to use that Weaver's wall, and now the question is for KT, do you hit?
Oh, Peter lost flash.
Do you go for the fight? Peter, no flash as you say. That Nico, half of a champ if he can't get onto the backline, still looking for the engage. Meanwhile, the cease and desist into the quickness combo. A double charm comes out from Duro, and Gen.G just rip the hearts out of KT.
And that play from Duro, the man that at the beginning of the year was the weak spot for Gen.G, sets up on both sides of the fight. First gets the charm, allows them to engage on the jungler, then flashes his way over, finds the charm, double knock-up, and Gen.G find a big fight.
I mean, the setup is just so far superior. Keen was waiting in the tri-brush on a pink ward, forced the ult out of BDD, and then in they go. Perfect engage from Duro, double seismic shove. They'll lead them both. They had already forced the flash off of Peter as well. This is just picture perfect here from Gen.G, showing their class around the objectives. And just like that, not only is the advantage gone, you're now 2K behind, you're not close to a soul, and Gen.G once again right back into their comfort zone.
And the 2 big points for me have been one, Peter, who obviously, even on his Nico thus far, hasn't been able to find the impact. No big ults, seems to be a little disjointed with his team. But also, BDD has not actually been able to have a single offensive ult. Every single time he has been looking to step up, looking to make the play, and his team is going to trust him to do so as well. But every time he's had to ult out defensively, and I do think that is a lot of the power of this composition, that Yone ult layered with the Rumble, layered with the Nico or the Jarvan, and we're not really getting that for KT right now, and they weren't able to get the Dragon as a result.
And it just feels like they clearly want to contest, but they are late multiple times now. It's the exact same thing we saw at the Herald. You know, Peter shows up, he's kind of separated from the rest of the team, walks in, dies. This time, BDD is making a rotation, but they don't have vision control in the river, so he loses his ult, then Peter walks out, loses his flash, then you're getting engaged on. They just don't have all of the setup done properly, and Gen.G is a team that everything has to be perfect against. You must have great setup or you just have no chance.
Because Gen.G suffocate you out of the game. They deny vision around the objectives. KT are stepping into fog of war, and Gen.G have every single tool in their arsenal with the ability just to lock one person up and kill them. And at that moment, you're 4v5, and you can't really take the fight as KT.
And this is also where I think the KT comp, once you start falling behind, this comp struggles, because you have great tools of getting vision, but like who actually goes in? Because with the clone and with Cuz's flag, you are able to check, are they in the brush? But then what, right? Unless you're able to get at least a little bit of control, someone needs to actually find that engage, because every single member that you might send forward will just get blown
gonna
up.
get spotted potentially here. He's still in that brush.
They don't know.
Walks into the bush, there's Jhoeraine, gets the quickness off, Weaver's wall out, and the charm follows up! KT, though, still alive. Peter yet to fall. Cards going in with the flag and drag. Fate sealed. Flash away from Canyon. He dashes out with a bolt breaker. Gen.G now on the back foot. The ace in the hole cancelled by the knock-up. A seismic shove onto Cuz. Keen the first to fall. Gen.G on the back foot. KT still looking to find purchase in the fight.
It's still a big win for KT, though. We'll see if they can turn it into more. Might not want to run the risk with Canyon still alive, but Gen.G overstepped big time there.
Yeah, I mean, Duro just got spotted out. He was on a very deep flank. He was trying to look for an angle to go in there. and did find it, but he kind of had to go at a time that he didn't really want to. I think he wanted to wait a little bit longer till the team was there in position, but gets found out, has to go early, and Gen G just decide we're going to try to take the fight regardless. KT, though, great turnaround, and I think we might have to go back to live because Doctan was just hitting that Otacon. But here it is one more time, just kind of going a little bit early, and BDD has a great turnaround right here with Cuz.
And then on the other side of that, look at Perfect and how much damage he's actually doing as in the picture, Otacon's going.
Otacon's already started by KT as Gen G look to take the fight. Canyon
Peter.
not here yet. Peter! Hot Blossom goes wide. And perhaps Gen G can look to turn this one around now as KT don't have that big engage tool. Gen G take their turn on the Otacon. Seismic Shove just short of clipping onto Perfect. Gen G still on that Otacon, down to 3,000 HP. Cuz looking at the engage, but he's locked up. Decimating Smash doesn't catch him. In the flag and the dragon, still forced away. Gen G will claim the Otacon.
Peter was literally seconds away from his flash, but because he doesn't have his available, Chobi's able to flash out, and KT unable to take the Otacon and gonna lose the turret as well.
Yeah, and as soon as that ulti does not hit there from Peter, it's so tough now for KT to re-enter. Cuz wanted to stay around to see if he could find an opportunity to look for a steal, but Keen shuts the door on that as well, flashes forward, makes it so his only way out is back to the tower, makes it a guaranteed Otacon for them. And that glimmer of hope you had there for KT around the Otacon snuffed out just as fast as it appeared.
If you're KT now, you're looking at feats of strength. 23 petals to 4 on the Otacon. You're looking at Jhoeraine and Canyon stepping up together to try and deny blue buffs. Drake up in 10 seconds time. Gen G just denying any vision for KT.
There's a lot of dive though, and Chovy doesn't have his flash thanks to the play from Peter. If they can get on top of him, take him out. Again, this composition, the only other real source of damage is Ruler on this Corki. So if they can find a way to get BDD, Cuz, or Perfect onto that backline, that might be an angle, but Perfect doesn't have his flash. Stop was used in that topside play as well.
They go for Canyon, jump on him immediately with the Bolt Breaker to get himself out. The tower falls in. Mid KT not really defending that mid tower for now, as KT still look to start up this Drake. Will be soul point for them. Chovy on the flank as he wraps around to join his team behind this Drake. Perfect, with that equalizer. Weaver's wall, Perfect's on the wrong side of it, but can walk out towards the top side of his jungle. Drake down to 2,000 HP. Peter with the Pop Blossom! And a fight flowers for KT! BDD dives in! Gen G are left routed as Ruler has nowhere to go. Flashes, but with an ace in the hole, one more bullet in Dogdam's shot! A Cataclysm! The tomb for Ruler as KT clean up the fight!
Peter finds the engage to flip the game on its head. BDD and Perfect have the follow-up immediately. Beautiful equalizer, beautiful Yone ult coming across, gets them soul point, is gonna get them multiple towers here. KT with a picture-perfect team fight.
And there is the dive that was able to get KT the win. When they found that best of 5, the final game, it was Cuz and BDD that consistently found the backline access this time around. Peter says, I don't know how many times, 4th time's the charm, doesn't give up, finds the engage, and KT take a big lead because, again, I want to reiterate, soul point for Mountain Soul into the Gen G composition is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and we just have to watch Peter here. Obviously, they tried to go for the engage on Perfect at the top of your screen, but he's able to pull back very, very effectively. Then Peter goes in, finds the beautiful engage. Look at the equalizer across everyone. Look at Yone coming in over the wall, surviving for so long. Dogdam completely untouched throughout the whole fight.
And it's the lack of flash on Chovy. He's not able to get out. Just a combo of Peter with that equalizer is enough to take down the Talia. As there he goes! Peter pops off.
How can you not love this guy, man? It is just so fun to cheer for. And look at the damage from Perfect in that fight. Now, this has been such an exciting game one to kick it off. And though it has been a very one-sided history between these two teams of late, you know, Gen G taking the vast majority of those series, KT, you always have to give them a chance. And you look all time, you know, that is, of course, you know, back in the very old days. This new iteration, you know, when you're looking at game score in 2025, 25-4. When you're looking at series score, 6-1. But it doesn't matter because only today is what is important. You just need to find purchase in this series, and I think the pressure really is all on Gen G.
We're trying to control the area around the Baron right now. Jhoeraine forced to exit with the grand entrance. Ace in the hole used onto Ruler. Takes a chunk out of him, but not too substantial as KT group up as 5. The Scuttle Crab there will give some vision over to Gen G, and it looks like KT decide they're not going to force anything right now. Go back, farm up these waves. Infinity Edge on its way for BDD. Already has the BF Sword and the Crit Cloak, so he's very close to completing it.
And Doctom, not quite as close, but also steadily getting closer. That is a crazy spike for both Caitlyn and Jhoeraine. And we have seen flashes are available now for Chovy, for Canyon, not quite yet for Ruler. And that is going to make these fights hard. Because again, this is what we saw there was the perfect setup for a KT fight. Just make sure you get on top of either Ruler or Chovy. Take them out at the beginning, and we're looking at itemization as well. Chovy, which I think is a lot of utility, has gone for that Rylai's. That's no arm guard.
No, and I think that's probably what he's going to build towards next, but it does mean, and I was going to touch on that, that the 30-item spikes for BDD and Doctom are going to be so much more offensive power. We're going to get a Collector coming through from Ruler. Of course, that's still going to be some power. We're probably going to get a Zhonya's third from Chovy. So the amount of damage that they are going to be pumping out here with BDD and Doctom, if they find that good engage, they have the power behind them to knock them down.
Gen G know the BDD isn't here right now as Ruler. Valkyrie's in. Doctom has to flash across the wall, equalizer down as well. The Weaver's Wall from Chovy puts him on the back line. A seismic jump, gonna cut down perfect. Cataclysm in as KT look for the fight, but they just lock Gen G in, and they don't have the damage. Keen on that front line. Mortal Blade coming out from BDD for the knockup. Chovy flashing forward, chucking the rocks into Doctom, but he can't quite get the damage. BDD finds one. Doctom walks away.